What if you could undo every single regret you've ever had? I don't mean just wishing you'd done something different. I mean actually going back and living the life where you took that job, or didn't break up with that person, or stayed in the band. What if, between life and death, there wasn't a bright light, but a library? A library where every book is a life you could have lived. Today, we're checking out a book from that library, and trust me, it's got some serious late fees. Matt Haig's The Midnight Library isn't just a fantasy novel. It's a head-on collision with one of the most human questions there is. What if? It follows a woman named Nora Seed, who is, to put it mildly, having the worst day of her life. She's so overwhelmed by her regrets that she decides to end it all. But instead of an ending, she gets an opportunity. A bizarre, infinite, and terrifyingly tempting opportunity. We're going to walk with Nora through some of her other lives, the glamorous, the adventurous, the heartbreaking, and figure out what she discovers about the one she was so desperate to leave behind. So let's meet Nora on what she believes is her last day. It's a perfect storm of failure. She gets fired from her dead-end job at a music shop. Her last piano student quits. Her cat, Voltaire, her only real companion, is found dead on the side of the road. She feels like a black hole, a burden to everyone, especially her estranged brother, Joe. Every decision she's ever made feels like a wrong turn. So, she writes a short note and takes an overdose. But she doesn't wake up dead. She wakes up somewhere else. It's a massive, endless library. The clock on the wall is frozen at 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. Midnight. And the librarian. It's Mrs. Elm, the kind librarian from her school days who was always a safe harbor for her. Mrs. Elm explains the rules of this strange place. This is the Midnight Library. Every book on these infinite shelves contains a different version of Nora's life, branching off from a choice she did or didn't make. And the best part? She can open any book and try that life on. If she finds a life she truly, deeply wants to live, she gets to stay. But if she feels a profound sense of disappointment, poof, she's right back here in the library. Her first stop is the most obvious one. The biggest regret in her heavy book of regrets is breaking up with her ex-fiancé, Dan. She opens the book and boom, she's living their shared dream. They own a quaint country pub, they're married, everything she thought she wanted. Perfect, right? Not even close. Dan is drinking too much, they're in debt, and, oh yeah, he's cheating on her. The dream life is actually a slow-motion nightmare. The disappointment hits her like a ton of bricks, and she's yanked back to the library. Lesson 1. The lives we fantasize about are often edited for comfort. Okay, so what about fame? Nora was once in a band, the Labyrinths, with her brother, right on the verge of a record deal. She backed out, and it destroyed their relationship. So, she picks the rockstar life. And it is wild. She's a global icon, playing to sold-out stadiums in Brazil. She's dated A-list movie star Ryan Bailey. She has millions of followers, tattoos, a life of insane glamour. This has to be it, right? But she keeps asking, where's Joe? And then she gets the answer. In this life, the pressures of fame were too much for him. He died of a drug overdose. The success she achieved was built on the tragedy of the person she loved most. The pain is unbearable. She's back in the library, completely shattered.
This is where things get interesting.
She decides she doesn't want a life built on someone else's dream. She wants a life of purpose. She remembers wanting to be a glaciologist, studying the Arctic. So, she chooses that book. Suddenly, she's in Svalbard, on a research vessel, surrounded by jaw-droppingly beautiful and dangerous landscapes. And in a moment of pure terror, she comes face to face with a polar bear. Staring death in the face, she has a shocking realization. She doesn't want to die. She screams for the library, for Mrs. Elm. But more than anything, she screams because she wants to live. It's a massive turning point. In this life, she also meets Hugo, another slider, who jumps between his own alternate lives. He explains the physics of it all, the multiverse, quantum superposition, Schrödinger's cat. It's not magic. It's a state of being both alive and dead, allowing them to access every possibility. But Nora's starting to realize she doesn't want every possibility. She wants just one. The right one.
So she tries the life she thinks is the answer. A life born from a small, simple choice. Saying yes to a coffee date with a kind surgeon named Ash.
In this life, she's a philosophy professor at Cambridge. She's married to Ash. They have a wonderful, sweet, funny little girl named Molly. They have a dog named Plato. It's perfect. It's calm, it's loving, it's fulfilling. She feels herself settling in, the memories of the library starting to fade. This is it. This has to be it. But it isn't her life. She didn't earn it. She's an imposter in someone else's happiness. And she starts noticing the small cracks. She visits her old hometown of Bedford and finds that without her there, things have unraveled for people. Mr. Banerjee, her elderly neighbor she used to help, is in a care home. Leo, the boy she taught piano to, is being arrested. And the real Mrs. Elm, the one in this world, she died, alone, 3 weeks ago. Nora realizes you can't just find a perfect life. A life isn't a destination. It's a process. And by taking a shortcut, she abandoned the people who needed her in her own messy, imperfect timeline. That deep, fundamental disappointment brings her back.
And the library is collapsing.
The shelves are on fire. The ceiling is caving in. Mrs. Elm tells her that her newfound will to live is making the in-between unstable. She doesn't have much time. She can't choose another life. She has to get back to her root life. To do that, she has to find the one book that is completely blank and write her own story. In a frantic, desperate dash through the falling library, she finds the book, and with seconds to spare, she scribbles 3 powerful words. I am alive. Nora wakes up in her own bed, in her own life, vomiting from the overdose. But she's alive. And everything has changed, even though nothing has. The apartment is the same. The problems are the same. But she is different. She is no longer looking for a way out. She's looking for a way in.
She immediately starts to mend things. She calls an ambulance. She reaches out to her brother, who rushes to her side, and they finally, truly reconnect. She gets a message from her friend Izzy, who's coming back to the UK. She decides to start teaching piano again. The prison, she realizes, was never Bedford. It was her perspective. The Midnight Library isn't a story about finding the perfect life. It's a story about finding the perfection in the life you have. It's about understanding that you don't have to do everything to be everything. We are already infinite. The potential for love, for joy, for connection, for purpose, it wasn't in any of those other books. It was in her all along. She just needed to turn the page.